What's up, guys? I just got back from the Cleveland Art Museum and I was there for like 2 hours. Amazing. If you've never been to a museum, go to a museum. I can't even explain it, but my mind, my visual senses bombarded by all this stuff. No hippie, man, but it's very inspiring. It's very cool. You see stuff from thousands of years ago. There was paintings by Pablo Picasso all over the wall. These are $1 million paintings, just standing in front of him, thinking that he was once in front of this picture, painting it. And how there was one by Andy Warhol, Marilyn Monroe, and I asked one of the workers there how much this painting was. He said $10 million. $10 million painting right in front of me. And just really cool, really exciting statues, medieval times, knights, armor, swords, paintings from thousands of years ago, statues. I saw Buddha statues, a ton of Indian Shiva, the goddess Shiva, crazy pottery, and like tombs, Buddhist little things they have in their temple. Amazing. Anyways, check out a museum sometime. It'll blow your mind. I want to go back. Anyways, it's really cool because I've been reading this book called The Eureka Factor, and this is The Eureka Factor: Aha Moments, Creative Insight, and the Brain by John Cunios and Mark Beeman. So, the gold nugget, what I've been getting out of this book is where creative ideas come from and how do I bring about more creative ideas in my mind. How do I set up my environment and enable my brain to have these aha moments, to have these moments of clarity. And I think that's one reason that I love reading books, because I'm looking for that next aha moment, that golden nugget, that insight. But many times in life, these connections are made. Maybe we think of something and we go to bed on it, and then we wake up the next morning and we have that problem figured out. Boom, a light goes on. We've all probably experienced this. We've been having, there's a problem in our life or some deep insight where it just clicks, and then we're sure we know what to do, we know where to go, we know who to talk to. Everything just makes sense. So, how do we get our brains to be more efficient and have these more creative ideas? And I want to point out a couple things that I found in here. At the end of the book, it says making it happen. So these are a couple of tips that we can implicate, that we can put into our own life, and help us be more creative. So let's go in. Expansive surroundings will help you to induce the creative state. The sense of psychological distance conveyed by spaciousness not only broadens thought to include remote associations, it also weakens the prevention orientation resulting from a feeling of confinement. Even high ceilings have been shown to broaden attention. Small, windowless offices, low ceilings, and narrow corridors may reduce expenses, but if your goal is flexible, creative thought, then you get what you pay for. I've said this in Good Friends Stab You From the Front video. Me and a buddy, I used to work security at nighttime, and I would go out into the yard, and it was very open, very spacious, and I worked here for 2 years. And then whenever I look back, I contribute a lot of growth this time period. I was 20 years old, And those 2 years, I probably did the most growing, the most diving into my head, figuring out myself and learning and really opening my mind and making these discoveries. And I didn't make these by myself. I also read a lot of books. I read a lot of stuff from different people, a lot of websites, a lot of articles. And then I would go outside and I would be in this huge yard, space, nighttime, just free. And I remember such a overwhelming feeling of freedom, of bliss, of being under the night sky. And my mind would just wander. I would walk, and I would walk around, and my mind would have the time to put things together, to figure things out, to make the connections. Growing up, I had a lot of convictions. I was raised as a Christian, and I had many beliefs, and from my parents, from my church, from people around me, going to church every weekend, seeing a lot of the same people, from school, the friends I hung around. And as I moved away from all of that, and I was at this job, I was alone for 8 hours every night, and I would think, and my mind was open, and I was away from that influence, from those concepts and the thoughts, and my mind was allowed to wander, allowed to be free. And I think that's super important. To be aloneness, I've said, is where you stay sharp. You are sharpened when you're alone. In the mind, it's very, I don't know, but the phenomenon of being alone helps the mind work things out, to sharpen itself, to become assured of itself, and make the connections. The subconscious has a lot of different stuff going on, and the time alone where it's allowed to be free, the connections are made, and that's where the aha moments come. That's where the deep insight is made. So, what am I getting at? Take a walk at night. Go out. Be under the open sky. I wish that I had high ceiling. I once lived in a house that had the cathedral windows and the high ceilings. The place I live now is more of that confined, and I almost feel it, the binding, the tightness, the conviction, the tight space. Where, as before, I remember high ceilings, like it's saying in this book, contribute to letting the mind wander, letting the brain figure things out. So I would like to get out more. What I'm saying, one thing for me, and I'm going to start adding to my morning routine. I don't know why I don't do this already. One of my good friends does this every morning. He just made a habit of it, and every time I see him, he asks me to go on a walk. But I'm going to start walking for 15 minutes. I don't know if any of you guys do this now, but I'm going to wake up. I might do this right away. Just get up out of bed and drink some water and then go for a walk, because I believe that contributes so much to starting your day out and letting these creative thoughts come in, because I need more creative thoughts in my mind, because life has patterns. Life can be very similar day in and day out, and when your mind goes through these motions, when you go through the motions, in a sense, what does that do to the mind? I don't know exactly, but I want to free it up. Imagine if you walk to the gym, if you walk to the grocery store instead of driving there like you do every day, if you walk to your work, right? Just by walking, you would give yourself a new perception of that day, of the time. Your perception of the world would literally change because of the angles that you're viewing the world from, right? Walking on 2 feet is unique to humans. So wherever we go in all of our life, that's where we make discoveries. So if I'm driving my car to the gym every day, what insight am I really getting? I'm not getting any new angles. I'm not getting any new stimulus. So by me walking, I believe that that's going to help open up my mind by being underneath the open sky. So that's something I'm going to add to my routine. And I don't know why I don't do this already. I mean, I should be walking at least 15 minutes a day, probably 30. There's some great men. There's books on walking, but there's some great men that said they could walk no less than 4 hours a day, an hour a day. Some said 4 before the mind made the connection and they could do their work, because the process of swinging the feet got the cogs in the brain turning. So walking is amazing. Join me in this walking routine, the addition to our routine. Also, for any of you guys that struggle with depression, go ahead and buy yourself some turmeric, some curcumin. But also, walking has been shown 15 minutes a day. I believe it said for 15 minutes a day for a month will cure depression. Now, I don't know how true that is, but try that out. Because I've walked before many times. It's just not a daily thing, but whenever I hit that 15-minute mark, you just get this euphoric sense, this euphoria, where the world seems a little bit brighter. Maybe you guys experience this. Let me know if you agree. Okay, enough about walking. Let's move on to the next. Small scale features of your surroundings can also broaden or narrow your attention. Objects with edges that merely appear sharp, even if they are on soft objects such as sofas, will constrict your mind by automatically eliciting in you a subtle, unconscious feeling of threat. Whoa, that's pretty crazy. Reading that just now, I was at my buddy's the other day, and his room is pretty confided. It's pretty tight. There's a dresser, his bed, his computer, his work desk, and his room isn't that big. So his bed has this like Amish country built wood, a nice frame, right? Probably worth a lot of money. He's been sleeping on this bed, this frame, for years. And I told him the other day, I was like, dude, maybe you should try taking that out. There's something about sleeping near the ground that just very minimalist. It's that minimalist setting. It lets the energy's good in the room. And I helped him take everything apart. We moved it downstairs, and his bed was closer to the ground. There was more light in the room. You could see out of the windows a little bit better. And immediately the setting, the energy in the room just felt like I could breathe deep. I don't know how to explain this, but it was awesome. If you guys if you got like a huge mattress with a frame, I'm telling you, maybe try taking that out, because he said in this whole following week that he just feels better, more like just better, more creative ideas coming into his brain, and a like happiness, just getting up. He likes being in his room. It's a little more spacious. It frees him up. So simple. I don't know what sharp objects you got. I'm trying to look at my own home and make it so there's not. Let me read this a little bit more. It says, more generally, your surroundings should not have striking objects or features that imply threat or that grab and focus your attention. Thus, the ideal environment for creative thinking is open, airy, soft, rounded, and calm. One of my favorite places to go to think I go here at night a lot of times is the library. And where I live, the library is located on this hill, and it lets me look out on the city. It's a beautiful setting when the sunset, just extraordinary, beautiful. But I've noticed unconsciously such a feeling of openness, it reminds me back to the security job in the yard, of being under an open sky, looking out, seeing the horizon, and I get the same freedom, the same freeing up of the mind, where I'm able to think and make discoveries and let my brain go. So when it comes to my home, I want to kind of incorporate whatever's grabbing your attention. You've probably heard people go in a room on movies or shows, and they say the energy in that room is bad. The flow of energy is bad. I don't know how much you believe in energy and stuff, flow, you might call it hippie, but maybe that's what they're talking about, is when there's too striking of objects, when there's too much going on, where the brain gets cluttered, where subconsciously it's distorting you. There's a lot of distortion. So I've always enjoyed a minimalistic approach to my bedroom setup, where there's a lot of light coming in, where I don't have a lot. I have like one dresser where I keep my books. The clothes are away in the closet. There's not a whole lot going on. Maybe a picture, some artwork, but other than that, in the bed, near the floor, I don't sleep on a box frame, or I sleep very close to the floor. So I feel very, I feel like that's the best. I enjoy being in the room. So I would just like to have higher ceilings. So yeah, guys, go ahead, check out your own room, see what is, walk in and immediately just be aware of what grabs your attention first, and you'll know what to change, what to fix, what to remove, or what to add. So artwork too. Artwork would be super amazing addition to add to a room. Like very, very cool art. I've got a few pictures. Like I've got this map up here. I've got another one. I've got my chalkboard that I write on, plan out the day. I've got another little green painting with the writing that my sister made me. But I don't really have any artwork. And going to the museum today, artwork's really cool. I'd like to have some artwork. Let's go on. Relaxing outdoor colors such as blue and green contribute to this state. Emergency colors such as red suppress it. Darkness or dim lighting also works because they obscure visual detail and shift thought toward generality, abstraction, and broad attention. This principle likely applies to the other senses as well. So relatively quiet surroundings are preferable. But when silence would lead to excessive drowsiness, or when some noise is unavoidable, ambient noise should be soft, diffused, and resistant to focus, such as the sound of ocean waves or the simultaneous murmuring of many people. Let me read this real quick. Undoubtedly, one of the reasons why so many creative people like to work in coffee shops is the murmuring and soft, innocuous music found there. Yeah, that's really cool about talking about the color red, emergency colors. I've never really even heard of that, but you hear what certain colors mean, like blue is more related to work. Green is more of a nature vibe. So, hey, I don't know if you got a lot of red in your room or some emergency color, who knows. I don't really have any red. But red is seen, like emergency. What do we, like a fire truck? You think emergency. So, subconsciously, I don't know how important this is. Take a look at your own room again. Let your mind come up. Let it say, okay, well, maybe let me try moving this out. Let me see, anything else we got here? it says, for being more creative, one of the things that helps the most, and I mentioned this earlier in the talk, of how life is very, there's a pattern, there's a daily, we experience a lot of the same things daily. So it says, don't get stuck in a rut, right? Enforced change and adaptation will destabilize entrenched thoughts. Through fixation, forgetting to lubricate your mind for breakthrough ideas. So when you're going day in and day out, doing the same thing, experiencing the same thing, driving to work, driving to the gym, driving to the library, driving to your friend's house, driving home, your mind, it doesn't have to do any new, there's no new stimulus. So it's going back to thinking about the same thing every day. So you're not making new discoveries. So guys, I urge you, because I've seen this in my life, and I don't know why I don't take more time to break the routine, break the habits. And the first thing that came to my mind was walking more, just to get a different sight of the world. Imagine, like, I've rode a motorcycle around a parking lot, but imagine the mindset or the stimulus that an ordinary rider gets. Like, that's such a break to be not enclosed in four walls like a car, but to just imagine the difference, right? So apply that to your own life and be creative in that sense of, what way can I bring in new stimulus? Can I bring in this new observation of the world in my daily routine? Super awesome. All these things contributing to being more creative, to letting your mind be open to these new thoughts. Instead of surrounding yourself with people like you, interact with diverse individuals, including some non-conformists. Unusual people are not only out-of-the-box thinkers, but their mere presence primes a deviant's mindset that will enhance insightfulness in you and your more buttoned-down coworkers. So, oh man, very cool. When it comes to books, you want to read all kinds of books, right? I told you I read fantasy. That, I feel, undoubtedly, that lets my mind be free. It lets it wander. And a lot of times at work, again, the routine, the same people every day. How much of the same stuff? How much new things are these people bringing to the table on a daily basis? I mean, I'm surrounded myself by the same low levels of consciousness. So unless you're going every day and talking to new people, wherever that may be, I mean, what new ideas are they introducing to you? What new things are they sharing with you? Okay, so strike up a conversation here and there with some random person. See what insight they can have. Maybe the odder the better, it's saying, right? The odder the better. The crazier they seem, who knows what they know, right? You can learn from these people and get their intake. What are they experiencing in the world? Like I said in one of the videos, I talked to a lady that for about an hour, I had no clue. An older woman, very feminine, brought a lot of energy. But she had traveled to Sweden, to all of Europe. She went to Paris, France, all over the world, and she shared with me. She talked about these different cultures, and at first I was reluctant to talk to her, but as soon as I started talking to her, she literally I felt like I traveled the world with her, because I've never been to Sweden, I've never been to France or Paris, and the way she painted it, she talked about the roads and the culture, the buildings, the architecture, and how cool it was, the emotion she had, and it put me right there in her shoes when she was at that time in those places. Let me see if there's anything else. This is super awesome. Aspects of foreign cultures such as art, food, and music from around the world are also helpful, especially if they bring to mind memories of your own efforts to assimilate or adapt to an unfamiliar culture. I once went to this Indian restaurant, Indian cuisine it was called, for the first time. I've never had Indian food before this. Indian food is probably my favorite food. Now, I had like tandoori chicken. I had this buttered chicken, this bread called naan brushed with garlic. Phenomenal, guys. If you've never had some Indian food, go to an Indian restaurant, give it a try. I've took dates there. I've went with friends there now to the same place just because it was so good. So, and it really, I don't know anything about the Indian culture and the statues that they had, the paintings, just opened my mind, a whole new experience to break up that routine. And that's what I'm talking about, to break up the daily routine. Who knows what this new stimulus does for the mind and what appreciation it gives us in this life for other cultures, other ways of thinking. So, and God, Indian food, delicious. I like spicy food, and they have a spice level of 1 to 10, and I got like a 7 for the tandoori chicken, and my nose was running. I brought a date, and I had to go to the bathroom and blow my nose because my nose was running. I was pretty much like crying. It was so spicy. So if you like spicy food, maybe go for like a 5 or 6, because 7 was intense. Tandoori chicken, by the way, is chicken that's baked, I guess, in a clay pot, and it's red. It's delicious. Came out on this sizzling plate. What else did I get? Oh, they had these chips. They had these little seeds in them, right? And they were warm, like they just came out of some being fried or some oven, and you dip them. They had this sweet sauce. I don't know what it's called, and this green. It was like chili sauce. Delicious. And I don't eat that stuff anymore, but the memories are there. That stuff was delicious. So let me see if I got anything else here. Stands out. Real quick, the threat of a firm deadline will narrow your thinking and inhibit your insightfulness. So maybe procrastination, you know, if you're always putting things off, procrastinating, imagine how that contributes to when you have to be creative to complete something, you've put it off to the last second, how much narrower are your ideas going to be. We don't have lectures. It says it's super important is ample sleep magnifies fixation, forgetting, and empowers memory consolidation to foster the discovery of hidden connections between ideas. There's no shame in taking a nap. Sleep is creative mental work. Tell your boss that we said so. I'm going to leave you guys on this one, but oftentimes, like, I'll plan out my following day while I'm laying in bed. I'll either write it down or just take a couple minutes to think about it. But there's some sort of phenomenon of when you have a problem that you need to solve and then you sleep on it, or you plan your day and then you sleep on it, you wake up in those 8 hours, your mind has time to really turn these ideas over. And so what I'm saying is, have the problems, sleep on them. Literally sleep on your problems, whatever it is, sleep on it, and the next day there's definitely an increased amount of awareness towards these problems and the connections. So guys, the Eureka Factor, extraordinary book, gave me a lot to think about. There's a lot to change up in my surroundings to make it optimal for these creative ideas, these aha moments. Very cool. Thank you guys for tuning in. Please subscribe. Any ideas, anything you want to add to this is how we can optimize our surroundings and be more creative. Let me know. So I'll see you guys soon. Tomorrow, number 23 on the 25 cognitive biases. Stay tuned. I'll see you guys. Peace.